Hey there, YouTube, fellow rockers, metalheads, and whoever else may watch this channel. Today, I'm going to finally get into the discography ranking of Aerosmith, as I just made that recent video of the two albums, Rocks and Toys in the Attic. And I said I was going to make a ranking. And before I get into it, other Aerosmith, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi all started out, just solid bands, and then they took a turn for the pop side, and then just went their career. It's like this the whole time, roller coaster. Like some bands or some fans, I should say, of Aerosmith and maybe even Def Leppard and Bon Jovi for that matter, um, will tell you after a certain point they sold out, went pop, and I could see that. With Aerosmith, there might be the most up and down band ever because through the 70s their blues hard rock style was unmatched pretty much, and then they came back, and for me it was like then it went off a fucking cliff. Def Leppard same way. I did like Pyromania was then it came High and Dry. Then a lot of people hated Hysteria. It's my favorite Def Leppard record. Yeah, they sold out, they went poppy, but it was really good. And then it went like I kind of liked Adrenalize a little bit more than most. And then it was like fucking up and down, up and down. A couple songs on each album I liked and just went to shit. Same way with Aerosmith. Bon Jovi, same way. I was never a big Bon Jovi fan like the other two, but I did like the first 3 or 4 records. And then it was just all shit after that. Too much of a sellout. So with this ranking, I told you in my last video I didn't have the last 2 albums, so I'm just going to talk about them. I didn't want to spend money on them just because I didn't like them. But neither one are my least favorite, so I'll get to that in a bit. Starting off at 15 studio albums, I need to do a live ranking one of these days, but live albums are really hard to do. Starting off, number 15, Just Push Play. Hated this record when I bought it. I was so excited to buy it when it came out because when I was growing up, Aerosmith was one of my favorite bands in late 90s, and this just, oh my god, it was so awful. Jaded, everybody knows that song. I didn't think it was that great, but it grew on me a little bit. It's definitely the best song off the record. And of course, Fly Away From Here is one of the better poppy ballads. I do like that song a lot, but there's nothing else. Just Push Play is terrible, like rap. It's like a going a mana, whatever the fuck he says. And then freaking A, Just Push Play, freaking A. This is terrible. It's a lot of very poppy, very like electric sounding. It's just fucking shit. There's not really anything. Those 2 songs, it's all, I think, what's that? Sunshine, I think, was the other single after the 2 I just mentioned. But yeah, it's terrible. 2 songs at most. Next up would be their covers album. Usually I put covers albums last just because, I'd rather hear a terrible studio record because I don't really care about covers that much. I never want to listen to them. That's Honkin' on Bobo. And I remember Baby Please Don't Go was the song release. It was okay. I listened to the album recently and to do this ranking. There's not much I can say about it. It sounds good. It's Aerosmith in their element. There's a reason why Aerosmith does a lot of blues covers because they're a great blues hard rock band. So it sounds really good, but it's a lot of songs I never would listen to originally, and it doesn't catch my interest, although it does sound really good. Next up at 13, I'm probably going to put this lower than, I don't know, a lot of people forgot about this album. I never got into it, and that's A Rock in a Hard Place at number 13. I was going to have it up 1 spot higher, but I'll get to that in a minute. This is the album without Joe Perry, and I think Brad Whitford both left. And you can tell Lightning Strikes is a great song. When the lightning strikes. That's the song they released as a single, and they made a video for it. It's the best song on the record easily. Jailbait's okay. Bitches Brew's pretty good. Then the rest of the songs, there's really nothing to write home about that I listened to this, I'm like, wow, what did I forgot all the songs already, other than maybe Lightning Strikes, maybe Bitches Brew second. But yeah, it was released in 1982. Like I said, it had Jimmy Crespo filling in for Perry, and Rick Dufay, I think was his name, filling in for Brad. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot missing. The songwriting's, there's just nothing here. I mean, I can listen to it. It's not like terrible, but it's just empty. So that was 13. Number 12, I'm going to go with their last album, which was Music from Another Dimension, which I never bought. I thought it would suck. And I'm mostly right. There's a couple songs that I do like on the record. Um, Love Her a Lot was released as a single. It has uh, kind of like that old school hard rock bluesy vibe to it. I kind of like that song. I'll Go the Lights has a lot of cool Joe Perry riffs. It's a good song, probably the best song on the album. Stupid fucking Carrie Underwood, who's trying to be so hard rock and metal anymore, touring with Guns N' Roses. She even has, I heard on Sirius the other day, she has a channel about, uh, hard rock and metal. What the fuck does she know about that shit? And, if she wanted to be metal, she should have just went into that originally. And she does that duet with Steven. I forget the ballad. The ballads are really terrible too. I mean, a lot of people don't like ballads, but these ballads are just boring as shit. So I would say those two songs, Love Her a Lot, Out Go the Lights. Beautiful is a really weird ass song. It's okay. I knew it would be terrible, but it's a little bit better than I thought. So I've been placing it at number 12. 11, this is where everybody's going to get pissed off at me. I never liked this record that much. There's nothing wrong with this record except that the 2 to 3 hit singles off this album are 2 of my least favorite hit singles by Aerosmith. And there's just a lot of filler. And that is their so-called comeback album. I use that lightly because their comeback album was the previous one technically, but this is the one that come back to the charts, and that's Permanent Vacation. Heart's Doing Time, the openers. It's a nice, I guess, solid complimentary song. Magic Touch, same way. They're both okay. Aerosmith usually has a good lead-off track. This one, not so much. Ragdoll, one of my least favorite Aerosmith big hits. Dude Looks Like a Lady, same thing. It's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Hangman Jury was another single release from this album. Just boring. It has that cool blues riff that Aerosmith is known for. Angel's my favorite song off this album, easily one of my top ballads Aerosmith done. Then the rest, I'm Down, I think, is a Beatles cover. It's just, there's a problem with this record. There's nothing that stands out besides the 3 singles. And 2 of those 3 singles, to me, are just average hits at the most. So that's why it's a number 11. Most people have this around 5, 6, or 7, I would say, guesstimating. For me, it's a lot lower than number 11. Number 10, these next 2 are hard to rank. It can go either way. I think I'm going to switch them. Number 10, I'm going to go with Done with Mirrors, what a lot of people would say is Aerosmith's true last album before they went poppy. I like this album. The problem is, it's like the last 2 I just talked about. There's not a lot of hits on here. You can listen to it and then instantly forget it. It's a lot better than their previous album, which was Rockin' a Hard Place. Let the Music Do the Talking is my favorite song off the record. It's a cover of Joe Perry Project. When he left Aerosmith, they wrote this song, and so Aerosmith covered it. My Fist Your Face is a good song. My Fist Your Face. Shame, shame, shame on you, girl. That's okay. The song. Reason a Dog. It's probably another standout from this album just because it's so cheesy. The Reason a Dog. I forget how it goes. Gets so much love because he wags his tail and not his tongue or something. But I like it. Sheila was released as a single. Like I said, this is another album that's just, you'll listen to it, be like, it's okay, it's not bad, but then instantly forget about it. That's the downfall of the record. It sounds good. It's Aerosmith. They're definitely a lot better than they were with their last album. And it might even be the last 2 albums, because I was going to put this one before, but I moved it up to 9 because I listened to both of them recently, and this one's a little bit better, I think. And that's Night in the Ruts, their 1979 album. Right after they did this, Joe left, and I think Brad left too, and Jimmy Crespo even fills in occasionally on parts on this album. No Surprise is maybe one of their most underrated songs, talking about their early... their early history. No Surprise. Has that great Joe Perry riff. Good song. 3 Miles Smiles has a good riff. Remember Walking in the Sand is the only song they released on this record as a single, which is a weird choice because it's a Shangri-La cover. 50s song, I think. I'm like, it's okay. It's better than the original, but I mean, why choose that one? Cheesecake That's okay. It's really cheesy. No pun intended. Mia is a ballad about his daughter, Steven Tyler's daughter. Chiquita is another good song, the second song on the record. Good riffs, blues, hard rock. Bone to Bone, Coney Island, Whitefish Boys, pretty hard, heavy and fast song. Besides No Surprise, I would say Chiquita maybe is a one to check out. And maybe even the cover, Remember Walking in the Sand. It's not great, but some people might like it. But you could tell there was tension in the band at this point. A lot of the band members like this album. I think it's Steven Tyler said it was his favorite to make or favorite album they did or something crazily. Joe Perry had a lot of good things to say about it because neither one like Draw the Line. It's not for me a bit, apparently. Before that was the one before this, but yeah, I mean, I never really liked this album too much, but I gave it a couple spins recently before I did this ranking, and it's better than I thought. So I moved it up to 9. Number 8 on the list here is one most people have the bottom 3 or 4, and that's 9 Lives. I did a video on this. I'll post it at the end here to show you a couple years ago. And I have the shirt again still on, and that's the Cat Head 9 Lives shirt. I can see why people don't like this record because it's the poppy side of Aerosmith, but there are some hidden gems, I think, in this album. The title track's pretty good, 9 Lives. Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees, which was another single. Really, I really like it. It has that classic bluesy, hard rock Aerosmith sound. Hole in My Soul is one of my favorite ballads by them. The video is really cool. It has Stifler in it. It has Alexander Holden. Who else was in there? Another famous person. There's 3. I forget now. I have to look it up, but it's a good song. Taste of India, like I talked about, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I made a video on it. It has that sitar, which is, it's okay of a song. It's definitely stretches the boundaries a little bit of Aerosmith, so it's kind of a highlight for that reason. Full Circle, another underrated ballad Aerosmith had. The Farm's really cheesy and bad. Pink is probably the worst song they ever did, maybe minus Just Push Play. When I first heard that, that's why I waited to buy this record. I waited a couple weeks because I'm like, Pink is so fucking stupid. And then Fallen Angels, another a great ballad to close out the album. So take it or leave it. I mean, it is what it is. Some people like this, most people don't, but I like it more than most, so that's why it's number 8 on the list. Number 7, the one before that, where they really became really famous with the videos, Alicia Silverstone, Liv Tyler, fucking hot videos, and that's Get a Grip. The lineup during, well, the same lineup, but this is the era of Aerosmith, you know, or Wayne's World 2. I was going to say Aerosmith from Wayne's World 2. They did Shut Up and Dance at the end. Eat the Rich, Shut Up and Dance. All the hits are really good. Living on the Edge, Crying, Crazy, and Amazing. Everybody knows those songs. The only problem with this song, this album is the production's kind of too clean, you know, too poppy, but that's what Aerosmith went for. And sometimes it's hard to tell Crazy and Crying apart because they're just so damn similar. But Walk On Down was Joe Perry's, I think, no, it's not his first, but maybe his best vocal. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the hits, and the rest are just kind of Eat the Rich, which is one of the least popular songs on the album because it wasn't a big hit. It's probably the best one that is never talked about as much. Eat the rich, isn't what they're very good for. Eat the rich. Take one bite now, spit out the rest. Good song, I love it. And then Shut Up and Dance from Wayne's World is another cool song. It has a good bluesy riff, partying song. Yeah, so it's I used to like this album a lot more than I did because it was the first Aerosmith album I heard in its entirety because, you know, I was really young at the time into Aerosmith. First album. 9 Lives was the first one I bought, so that's why it probably has a little bit more of a special place in my heart. So it is what it is. Up at number 6 is the debut, and I only have it on cassette. I never really gave too much thought about this record until I went back and listened to it a little bit more and more. You know, everybody knows Dream On. It's a large percentage of Aerosmith fans might say it's their best song. I don't think it's their best, but it's definitely up in the top 10. Mama Ken, everybody knows that song. Guns N' Roses did a good cover of it. Walking the Dog is a great blues cover. Like I said, Aerosmith all their damn covers are almost bluesy, and it's one of the highlights on the album's last song. Make It, which I think was released as a single, is a good opener. Then Somebody is similar. Both songs sound the same kind of. This being their debut, it's hard to say. It's very raw and very bluesy and in your face. We don't give a shit type Aerosmith sound. That's what, when they were at their best, was that garage blues, hard rock, no filler, bad boy hard rock blues, and that's what this album is. Make It, Somebody, One Way Street's a 7-minute song that's really underrated and overlooked. Everybody knows Mama Kid, Walking a Dog, and Dream On. So there's not one bad song on this album. It's just a lot of it sounds sort of like Get a Grip. A lot of it sounds the same, similar, but it has that blues hard rock sound. There's no pop on this at all, except for maybe Dream On, kind of poppy, but it's a ballad. But it has the perfect intro, the slow guitar intro. Next up, I'm going to go with one that's always overlooked, and some people have it this high, most have it a little bit lower, and that's Draw the Line, number 5, and their 5th overall studio album. The problem with this album is the band was, a lot of people say when they were getting worn out, there were a lot of fighting and drugs, heavy drugs at the time, and they rented out a convent in New York City. I think it was an abandoned convent, and it was in fucking wintertime. It was the weirdest fucking time and place to record an album. And coming off of Rocks and Toys in the Attic, of course this is not going to be as good. That's almost a fucking given. Even Get Your Wings. But this album is really solid. It's sort of like their debut. It has all blues, hard rock influences on it, and there's not really a typical ballad on this either. Draw the Line, which is the one they always play in concerts still to this day, is a great opening rocker. Gotta draw the line. The great guitar intro Joe Perry has. Critical Mass is an underrated song. Get It Up was, I think, the 3rd single release from this album. Bright Light Fright, that's the one with the first song I believe Joe Perry sang. It's throwaway. It's only 2.5 minutes. It's like the only one I don't really like. Kings and Queens is one of my top 10 probably Aerosmith songs. There's nothing like it. It's sort of like the ballad off this album, but it's not really a ballad. It's kind of like a mid-roll pace, slower song. Kings and Queens and Guillotines. Great fucking song. I love it. The Hand That Feeds, Cypher Sore Eyes, and just like Walking the Dog, they did a cover of a blues song, Milk Cow Blues, and I don't know the song really because it's not really what I listen to, and it's from like I think the early 60s, but it's a good cover, and it's like I said, Aerosmith, bluesy hard rock, that's their strong point. So I would say like Draw the Line, Critical Mass, Kings and Queens, Milk Cow Blues, Get It Up, I Want to Know Why, all solid songs. It wasn't really a hit on the charts, sort of like the first album wasn't until later on with Dream On was released. This one never really was a hit. It sold well, coming off of Rocks, of course. So, but it's just a solid album that there might not be like a lot of hit songs on it or moments on it, but every song is solid. So it's just overall a great record. Number 4, I'm going to go with their second effort, their sophomore album. That's Get Your Wings, and this it's a great record. Same old song and dance, my friends. It's a great song. Same old song and dance opening track. Lord of the Thighs was like a joke on Lord of the Flies. It's another good song. Space is kind of cheesy. Women of the World is another underrated bluesy hard rock song. And my favorite possibly cover, because Aerosmith did a lot, is another bluesy but a crunchy guitar driven song. It's Train Kept It Rolling. Train kept it rolling all night long. It's even great live on like the Aerosmith classic lives. And then of course, maybe my favorite ballad, easily top 5 Aerosmith song ever, and that's Seasons of Wither with the slow guitar acoustic intro, and it's just a great ballad. It was actually written, I think, with Steven Tyler walked outside in the Massachusetts wintertime and just saw how gloomy and dark and depressing it looked, so he wrote a song about it. It's a fucking perfect song. It never gets any playtime on radios that I heard. It never gets talked about at all. It should. definitely top 5, maybe top 3 Aerosmith song ever. It's really fucking amazing. So you have Same Old Song and Dance, classic riff, classic Aerosmith. Um, Lord of the Flies, Woman of the World, Train Kept the Rolling, Seasons with Her. Just it's a great record. Almost in the class with Toys and Rocks. Very close. Number 3. This is where I would disagree with the people that hate poppy Aerosmith, but only because of this record. It's one of my favorite rock records of the 1980s, right at the end of the 1980s, and that's Pump. And you got the Young Lust, great, just grooving rocker to open the song, or to open the album. Loving the Elevator is kind of cheesy, but everybody knows that. Monkey on My Back, it's another good song. I think it's about drugs. Janie's got a gun. You know, it's kind of ironic that he wrote a song about, you know, child abuse when he had sex with a 15-year-old girl, like I mentioned on Toys in the Attic. But it's a great song on the list. The Other Side, another hit they released. It was really good. Don't Get Mad, Get Even, good song. Voodoo Medicine Man, and maybe my favorite ballad. It's either this one or Seasons of Wither, and that's What It Takes. Tell me what it takes to let you go. Great song. So yeah, there's not a bad song off this record. It's the poppy Aerosmith, but it also has a lot of the old school bluesy sound. Like I said, Young Lust, Fine, Monkey on My Back, Voodoo Medicine Man. They're all those classic Aerosmith songs, just as more poppy and polished sound. But you can tell it's the old Aerosmith's hidden under there somewhere. So, but I mean, you got the great ballad, Janie's Got a Gun, and What It Takes, and then you have the classic Aerosmith bluesy sound. Even though it's poppy gloss all over it, it's still there under the surface. So that's why I like it. The only one that's kind of cheesy is Love in the Elevator. I know it was a big hit, but it's okay. But it's sort of like the two songs I said about Permanent Vacation, the Ragdoll and Dude Looks Like a Lady. It's one of my least favorite pop singles they did, or popular hits, I should say, not just singles. But and I already made a video about these two, so I'm not going to really talk about them much. Number 2, Toys in the Attic. What can I say? There's what needs to be said. Opening riff, or opening song, the title track, fast hard rocker. Uncle Salty, about abusive, woman and getting abused, and being a hooker, being abused. And then Adam's Apple about the fellatio. Like I said, Walk This Way. The classic Joe Perry. This might Walk This Way. That riff is probably the most famous Aerosmith Joe Perry riff, and maybe one top 5 rock riffs ever. Sweet Emotion, also another big hit off this record, and You See Me Crying, the ballad at the end, released as a single. Perfect record, what can I say? And of course, like I said, number 1, as my last video I made, rocks. I mean, this album perfectly named, it rocks. Back in the Saddle Again. Great song, great opener, maybe their best opener. Last Child, Just a Punk in the Street. Top 5 Aerosmith, maybe my favorite Aerosmith song, really fucking amazing. Rats in the Cellar, sort of like Toys in the Attic, like I said, fast-paced song. Nobody's Fault, pure hard rock, heavy metal for its time. That's why so many people covered it, like Testament. And, Home Tonight, just like You See Me Crying, great ballad, bluesy ballad to close the record. So that's my list. You knew the last 2 were going to be because I just made that video, but I wanted to make a video talking about every album. So let me know what your ranking is. Are you planning on seeing Aerosmith? I want to fucking go next week, but they're probably going to be like $300 or $400 tickets. It's not worth it. Pisses me off living today and all these bastards resellers. What's your favorite song by Aerosmith? Most underrated album, underrated song, whatever, or just general opinion of the band. Poppy Aerosmith, good or bad? You be the judge. So that's my ranking. Thanks for watching. I'll put the 9 Lives video I did a couple years ago right at the end here. And please subscribe. It's just me talking metal. I do need to get into maybe... I know my buddy and I occasionally will do the podcast about different topics, but I would like to do one about hard rock metal mostly because that's what I talk about the most. So peace, rock on forever. See you, YouTube.